Hello and welcome to a brave new episode of the StudioMEcast. I'm your host, Peter Regan, joining you from StudioME Speakeasy. And if you like the look and sound of this podcast, well, you can book this space yourself at StudioME.me, where you can browse all of our podcasting studios. As of now, all of our podcasting studios are powered by AI, which edit your video while you're recording. So take a look at that at StudioME.me. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. But let's get into our guest, because our guest this week is Wes Fisher. He is a writer here in the independent film scene here in Pittsburgh, and he does all kinds of stuff. But the main way that I know him is as a writer. So we're going to be talking about that. He's done a lot of shorts for the 48-Hour Film Project. He's in the process of writing 4 feature-length scripts right now. He's adapted another project that we're going to be learning a bit about, and we're also going to be learning about his process as a writer and also the mindset that he thinks is valuable for filmmakers in the independent film scene, particularly here in Pittsburgh. So, without any further ado, please join me in welcoming Wes. Thank you for joining me today.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So, you are a writer, producer, director, and actor.
Yes.
And one of the ways that I know you is just that you write a lot.
I do.
Seems like all the time.
It's all the time. It is. Actually, in the past couple months, I've taken a step back from writing, and I've been on set more. I've been kind of like the all hands on deck kind of guy in a way. The guy with many hats, especially on set. From a producing standpoint, getting more comfortable in that role too. I just love being on set. I love being on the move,
Sweet. Well, let's dive first into writing real quick, because we have some topics we want to get into, but I really want to make sure we highlight some of your thoughts on writing, especially.
Yeah.
Have you found, I have, but your experience maybe too, have you found that being on set informs your writing at all? Like just knowing, like seeing the process of filmmaking more, not that that's new to you or anything like that, but does that help inform or inspire when you're alone putting words to the page?
It does, because say if you're on a bigger project or historical piece, and you see you can actually see the sets and how everything comes together, and you can see like how things are achieved, and you can write that in your script, and it actually translate a little better because you know how you can pull it off and how to describe it. So I find it to be easier the more I work on set, transitionally to writing.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's one of those things where I heard one example once of someone saying they had written that the way they had written someone falling into a pool was that like you see them like out and then going in, and someone was like, we need to change this because we're going to need to do more than one take, and we're going to have to dry them off and wet them down every time. And it's like, if we just make this little change, then it's not going to take all night to do this little beat that maybe doesn't need to be shot like that. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah. So
from a writer's perspective, like there's actors always come to me. I ask actors all the time, like, do they method acting? Do they really, like say Christian Bale, he really takes on the role. He loses weight, he goes full out for it. Well, for writers, it's like certain topics, method writing, I would not write about because I haven't experienced them.
Gotcha.
So,
Good point.
Say if you're going to skydive, if you have never been skydiving, how are you going to describe that in the script if you don't know, if you've never experienced it?
Interesting. So do you tend to do method writing then? Is that what you're saying?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. Yeah.
Cool.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting to, borrow an idea from another part of the craft to inform what you're doing, which I love that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, all right, now when you're writing, just one or two more questions about this specifically, which is, let's say there's a documentary being made about you secretly by ghosts that you can't see. What I'm really trying to say is, when you're writing, what does it look like? Where are you when you write? Do you have a laptop that you're typing on? Are you going by hand? Are you talking with people as you're writing? Like, do you have a pen? Whatever. Like, does it change depending on the project? Like, so what is actually, like, going from the outside in, what does it look like? Are you listening to music? What does it look like while you're actually...
I can tell you, I wish I had a space like this to write in.
Yeah,
But no,
it's
not like a full-blown writer's rec room that I have. It's just, my dining room. I write on a laptop, and my process of writing was actually I was inspired by one of my mentors. I've had 3 mentors in my life. My dad. Second was a gentleman named Eddie Eastman. He was a visual effects artist who worked on Troy and Gladiator. He's now in Cleveland. But,
very cool.
He actually taught me a lot about the process of writing. He's European, so off the bat, his style was a lot different than mine.
Do you know where in Europe he's?
Malta.
Oh, cool. Oh,
yeah, right.
Neat.
So,
you don't hear that one as often. That's cool. Wow.
And I just remember he would fight me on everything that I was like showing him. He'd be like, no, you gotta do this, you gotta do this. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, dude, just like, what do you want from me? But no, he really taught me a lot. And it actually, music is a huge part of my writing process, and which kind of gives me chills because my dad was involved in bands all his life, played bass. Okay. He tried to get me involved in music. I played keyboard a little bit, but I stuck down to the writing route because he was actually a marketer in Kaufman's too. So he did write stories. So I kind of got that from him and stuck with filmmaking. But music, there's a process where, in any kind of orchestration, song, there's highs and lows, there's beats, there's valleys. Same thing with the script. So if you take a chapter, you think of your script like a chapter, like you see on the back of a DVD cover, you have those chapters. You put a chapter, you describe the scene, and then you just put it up on your wall. And you kind of map it out. So that's one way. Instead of doing the whole 7-plot structure, you can actually just map out each scene on your wall. Yeah. And see how everything connects together.
Once again, taking inspiration from another craft to inform your writing.
Right.
Which is cool. Yeah. Well, that answers one of my favorite questions to ask people, which is like, what's something that you take inspiration from to inform your work? So you've already done that twice, which is great.
Yeah. Definitely music.
But of music and acting as well for like the method behind it. Now, one of the things that this might be a big answer, I don't know. But a lot of people want to write, and some of them just have a hard time stapling their pants down to the seat and doing it. You write a lot. You've written a lot of scripts, screenplays, at least a few books, right?
Well, I'm working on 2 books currently.
Working on 2 books.
It is it's a mental... I mean, it's like going to the gym. It's like a mental hurdle to actually write a book because it's a lot different from writing a script. Yeah. It's tedious. It's almost like editing where you're going back and you're rereading it like 20 times a day, and just making sure things sound good. Yeah.
I have a slightly different experience with writing books, which I finally, well, it was a while ago, but I finished the first draft of my first novel. I've kind of been messing with the second draft for a while. I haven't been prioritizing it, right? But I personally think that writing books is like a million times easier than writing a screenplay. And part of that's just like perspective for me, because I'm not trying to be a novelist. I'm not like, I don't have that added weight to it. For me, I'm like, no, I'm a filmmaker. I just happen to be writing a book and I'm enjoying it a lot. But it's also like there's no formatting requirement for it. There's no budgeting. It's not like when I write it, then I have to figure out how to make it, or kind of figure out how I'm going to make it while I'm writing it. It's like once I write it, it's done.
It's just finding your style.
Yeah, my first draft could technically, I could just say the book's done and it's not great, but I'd be like, hey, I wrote a book, if I wanted to. But that's me being a dilettante.
Well, it's actually interesting, like from writing books to scripts or scripts to books, because I actually did the opposite way. I wrote this script called The Order of the Ka, which I did a year of research with. I'm not going to give the details away. If anyone's interested, they can look me up on Messenger and I can give them the details. I actually have all that stuff on Instagram. I have like 9 different Instagram accounts for different projects, but
and those will be in the description below. Yeah. So we'll have a little thing that says, if you want to reach out to Wes, try this.
There you go. I put all my projects on social media just so in case anyone wants to see or get involved. But anyways, that script, after I wrote it, I submitted it to a festival on Film Freeway called the All Genre Screenplay Festival. And if you're selected, they will actually publish your script for free, give you a cover, and you can put it on Amazon.
Oh, no kidding.
So it's a very good avenue for writers out there looking to get their work published. That way you have a hard product in your hand that you can take with you and hand to people physically. Here, read my script. What do you think of it? Mm-hmm. So I've done that a couple times. And,
now, when you say publish a screenplay, does that mean like they copyright it for you, or like okay, cool, great.
They take care of all that.
Because I'm like a lot of people have printers, like but that's cool. Yeah,
dealing with copyrights and all that's a process. You know, it takes a while, but yeah, it's real nice. And anyway, the script. So the script is there, and what's interesting now is like I love Dan Brown. I love Da Vinci Code, Angels and Demons, conspiracy shit. I love it all.
Books, movies, or both?
Both. Okay. I think his writing style is great. I can't wait for this new one. It's coming out in September. The Secret of Secrets. What is the secret? I gotta know. You know. So I kind of like mimicked his writing style with this book version. So I'm taking the script and I'm writing the book now, and I'm expanding on it. So it's the opposite of what most writers do. They'll write the book first, and then they'll write the screenplay.
But you wrote the screenplay, and then
so now when I do this, I'm going to have to rewrite the script.
Yeah, because I mean, sometimes there'll be a movie, and then there'll be a novelization of it, but it's not like by the people who are involved with the movie. You know, it's like you can get books about the original trilogy of Star Wars. You know, like the novelizations, and actually they're pretty great. You know, but I'm not gonna lie, there's some great novels in the Star Wars stuff. But my personal favorite for the expanded universe is the Jedi Academy trilogy. You heard it here first. It's probably older than me, but there's but this is a good kind of segue with what I think is going to be the main topic that we're on here. Which is talking about the psychology of being involved with filmmaking and all that. But to get to that, I want to go through, do you have, like, I don't know if this is a process or a trick or a routine or what, but how, like, for the people who have a hard time just sitting down and actually writing, you know, and staying there and getting work done and, you know, what kind of advice could you give for that sort of, whether it's trouble getting started for people or writer's block?
Sure.
Because that's the question that all the people, well, how do I get out of writer's block? You think someone would have the answer by now. But what do you have to say
so everyone's process is different from a writer's point of view. What I like to do is I like to work with many different genres. So, you know, I'm writing 4 scripts right now plus 2 books. So I like to balance between projects. Kind of helps. I'm doing a drama right now, and then I'm also writing a comedy. So it kind of keeps my mind fresh, you know. But then if I get tired of writing, I feel they tell you to write like 5 to 10 pages a day. You want to strive for 15. You know, you don't have to be Stephen King and just lock yourself in the room and constantly write. What I like to do is I like to go out. I go to the gym a lot, sit in the sauna. Just kind of it's like therapeutic. Kind of clears my head. I'll listen to songs for inspiration. Just kind of I'll watch new movies, and it kind of helps.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. That sort of balanced lifestyle. Get out there, do some, All right. So those are some good practices for getting into it. Now, when it comes to, you had brought up a topic before we started recording, which was the psychology of filmmaking.
Right.
Being the psychology of the person involved with it. So not talking about how a film affects us as an audience member, but more of the, day-to-day mindset, practice, and all that of filmmaking. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this is a topic that I feel like I can talk about for days, and, I could teach a class on basically. I think I might do it because they don't teach you this in film school. In film school, you learn about how to make a film, how to write, producing stuff, contracts, budgeting, cameras and all that. But they don't talk about the business side of filmmaking. A lot of people get into film because they want to, it's fun. Let's go out.
Allegedly.
Let's go shoot a film, Hey, I got this idea. Let's go do it. Let's see what happens. And it's a good, if you're going to just start out, okay. But, if you want to seriously get in this industry, you got to have a business mindset because at the end of the day, it is a business. So,
and at the beginning of the day, in some cases, like something that I like to tell people is filmmaking was a business before it was an art form.
There you go.
Even before it was used to tell stories, people were making money off of it.
Right.
Which I'm not sure if that's true for every other art form or not. But yeah, I basically agree. Continue.
Yeah. So, you have to have the business mindset, and it just starts, up here. Like every day you wake up, if you're working on a film, say if you're really like starting it up yourself as an indie filmmaker, and you want to direct it, you write the script, and you have all these grand, plans in your head. You saw the locations, which is currently what I'm doing right now. Now I'm gathering all my cast, all my crew, which I've rounded out by now. But it's like, from a producing standpoint, the way you get people to really, hop on your team, hop on the train, is you get them excited about it. That passion that you share with them, they will want to be involved. Because who knows, like on the indie level, we're all striving to get to that next tier, which is, I think you know by now, to get to that theatrical release, you have to have names attached to your project.
Yeah, pretty much.
To a point. Yeah. I mean, that's what I've discovered.
It's true enough that you can just say that.
Because, you can have the best script in the world. You can submit it to, Toronto or Venice, and you're not going to get selected because you don't have that name actor in your project.
And that can be true for some screenplays as well,
right?
Not just the film festivals, but yeah, good.
Yeah, so you have to approach it from that way, and then the more people you get excited for it, reliable people that you trust, that you've worked on previous sets with. But from a psychology standpoint, it's just having that confidence in yourself, and you have to market yourself on social media. And this is something that I was actually a late bloomer to, and when I was with a previous company, I'm not going to mention, he was actually more involved in the social media than I was at the time. And looking back on it, I'm like, I should have really looked at YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and all this. Had I started 10 years ago, I'd probably have over 10,000 followers by now. Because in the past couple months, like I said, I have 10 Instagrams, TikTok, Facebook. The more I put on my socials, I have people reaching out to me that I don't even know, like actors in Toronto, actors in Florida, who want to work with me. And then I look them up, I see what they've done, you do your research, you make sure that they're real, you make sure that they're not trying to scam you, because there are people out there who...
And that's going to get harder and harder as time goes by. That's going to become almost impossible. And then we're just going to have agents again.
Right.
Anyway,
so you want to be careful, of course, but, the more... So being confident in yourself, when film... I see it with some people that have graduated, Point Park especially. When they graduate film school, it's almost like they're in a shell. You speak to them and you can read their body language, and they don't really know how to talk to people, because we're in this generation where everything's online. It's through text, it's through phone, but they don't know how to present themselves and network. Networking is crucial. They go to film festivals. That's the only way you make connections. Go to film festivals, watch other people's films. David Ogrodowski, an actor that I work with here, will tell you this all the time.
Friend of the show,
right? We go to Pittsburgh Independent, it's so sad. There's nobody in that theater watching films when that film festival's here. Not even the filmmaker who made the film.
I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, it's just it's insane to me.
Yeah, because as a filmmaker, whenever I've been to a festival, and anytime I've been to a festival, part of the thrill is watching it with other people. I even though it can be an extremely painful experience to watch a rough cut with somebody, I still get, because rough cuts aren't really even supposed to be fun. It's work to just I need feedback. I know it's not done.
It's that collaboration. It's that you're in a room and you're watching the same thing that everybody else is watching. You have that cathartic experience together. It's the same thing with music. People will tell you this in the music industry. When you go to a concert, you're all in that room together experiencing the same thing. There's that one word, synergy. And that is what filmmakers and music artists share together. It's a united front.
Yeah, and it's also the entertainment factor of it too, because I would rather watch a film I made with 100 people in a room than get 10,000 views online. Easy. Every time. 100%, not even a question. It's Yeah, just definitely.
Yeah, go to. I mean, I went to AMC last night to go see Brave the Dark for the third time. Which, by the way,
Wow,
I got to mention
really
this film.
hate that movie.
I got to mention this film because it is a drama. It was based on a true story. I actually went with Jesse Hutchins of Red Slate Films, director.
Trying to get you on here, Jesse.
Yeah,
where
Jesse,
are you
got to come on here,
dude?
man.
I need to reach out to him again. We had a couple. Anyway, I'll
good
get you.
Red
I'm
Slate
gonna
Films,
get
though,
you.
man.
He tasks
Red
me.
Slate's working on a lot of great stuff right now. But we went to go see Brave the Dark, and it actually filmed in Lancaster County, which is 4 hours away from Pittsburgh. Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. There's so many great films that shoot here.
Yeah.
People don't even know it. You know?
Yeah, it really is cool because we got all 4 seasons, 20 minutes outside of the city. You got some rural country, you know.
You
so
can take a
got all
camera
kinds of
anywhere. You go in
locations.
the woods, you know. Just don't close down a street. That's when you get into your permits and everything. But
Right.
you know, pretty much you can do anything. But going back to the confidence thing, the one last thing I will say about that is, I struggled with this for a while, just speaking in front of the camera. You know, that's why TikTok has actually helped me. Because, I post content on there about, what I'm doing daily, whether it's, if I'm going to the gym or, meals that I'm eating, tracking my progress, doing stuff with film. I'm kind of like combining that, and it has made me more confident in myself. And I feel like, filmmakers, if you graduate film school and you want to put yourself out there, you have to have a TikTok, an Instagram, a Facebook, and you have to, let everyone know what you're working on. Because if you do that, people are going to work with you. You're going to start building that all-important catalog of cast and crew that you can rely on.
And plus, having that kind of social media is a great way to. It's almost like an accountability partner.
True.
In a way to just
Yeah,
keep it going. Like, there's people I know who. One of the things that keeps them going to the gym is because they're like, oh, well, I got to post my video about it. Like, just not, and in a way that, like, it helps them to be faithful with what they're trying to do.
Right.
And that can apply to basically anything that you post about. So, yeah, I think, it's, at some point, you need to have something that you're actually working on or something to show for, because I know there's some people that I'm not speaking about anybody in particular actually, but sometimes we'll have people who they're trying to promote themselves online and promote their, like, oh, I'm a filmmaker, I'm an actor, whatever it is, and it kind of becomes like that's their full-time job, and they kind of err more toward being an influencer rather than working on what their
influencer.
Which nothing wrong with being an influencer. Listen, I do not have any particular disdain for, like, short form content, for Reels, TikTok, or influencers and all that. I think that especially with, like, short vertical videos, it's basically a newer medium that's pretty exciting, and as time goes by, I'm sure we're going to be amazed with how much depth we're able to mine out of that kind of thing. It's not my preferred medium of craft myself. It's like it's really been hammered home to me that, like, my medium is, like, as an artist, my primary medium actually is feature film directing.
I love that.
It's not even just directing. It's like, because, I mean, I'm sure I'd enjoy, I probably should. I'd love to, like, maybe direct some one-act plays, that kind of thing, because I just love working with actors so much. But, it's like, and I love anything that involves filmmaking, including short films, but it is different. Like, feature films are different enough that I'm comfortable saying it's just a completely different animal. It's not. It's not like a big short film. It's just completely different.
And that's a good segue into this next thing I'm going to say is,
go ahead.
You can't always do. Short films are great, but at some point you have to get off the short film train and you have to go for that feature.
All right. Well, tell us about how you've approached that.
So, I work a lot with different independent companies, Red Slate Films and Shadow Frame Productions, White Raven Productions, Ghost Cat. I balance between.
Ghost Cat Scott Danzig's
Ghost Cat is actually James Harland Lockhart the fourth. He's an editor. But
I will cut out my mistake.
That's
I'm
okay.
kidding.
No, he just I think he just got his LLC not too long ago, where he just started doing that. But we do a lot of different shorts, and this is actually funny because David O, I'm going to actually go after you with this one.
Careful.
David Ogrodowski, he's like in every film production that you can think of here in Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah, it's not a Pittsburgh Film Festival if Davo was in at least one film, usually 3 or 5.
Usually 3 or 4, yeah. So he had all of these short films just sitting like on Vimeo or YouTube, and I'm like, David, you have all these short films. They're not out there. You have to like get it to like streaming or have people see them. So how can we turn all these shorts into a feature? Let's come up with a feature idea with these shorts. And we did an anthology. So kind of like Tales from the Crypt kind of idea. It's a dark fantasy. It's called The Clockwork Wizard and the Foundry of Souls. And I'll credit David Rodowski for that title. It's a badass title. Draws a lot of intrigue. But we were at Reading Film Festival, and we came up with that idea, and he wrote the entire, concept of like this clockwork wizard and, having to, I won't give the details away. I can't, but
you found a way to use every part of the buffalo in a thrifty way.
To get something out of
producing a feature with it.
Yeah.
I think that's rad. Like I think basically everything counts.
Well, you got to have that. Because if you want to make a feature and get to that next level, you got to have a cash flow. You got to have something coming in to replace. If you want to do that next thing, money doesn't grow on trees. You have to, you can go to the state and try to get grant money in too. But like again, you can do all the fundraisers in the world, but unless you really, you got to have your projects make money.
Right. And filmmaking, maybe for a first feature, you can do something like a crowdfunding campaign to get like a few $1,000 to put like friends and family who really believe in you and like, put something together that way. But film, especially, film will continue to get more democratized, especially with things like AI. But like not even just AI, but just like the stuff I can do at home with After Effects is crazy. I'm not saying like I'm phenomenally great at it. I'm just saying like Peter Jackson did not have the ability to do these things that if I were a different way, I might take for granted, like when he was, making his first features, that doesn't in any way put me or anybody else ahead of where he was at that time or anything like that. I'm just saying that the resources we have are mind-blowing.
Oh, sure.
And continue to make film more attainable. It's like not that long ago, like independent films kind of didn't exist.
Right.
All right. And like obviously before I was born, everybody, but, yeah. All right, so
I'll say like with the After Effects and the visual effects stuff, like there's no question like that will always continue to develop. There'll always be new tech that comes out. That's why I'm not an editor. I can't handle like new software and new tech and all this technical side of post production. Like I do enough with the other two aspects, pre-production and production. But anyways, I do want to get into soundtrack composing. That's down the line for me. But from the basic concept of film on the independent level, coming up with that simple idea that you can pull off that's within your means, within your budget, what you have available to you, it just comes down to a great script. It comes down to a great story. One of the easiest genres any filmmaker can pull off is a drama, but it has to be good. It has to be, it can't, the dialogue.
What do you mean by pull off?
Well, like if you're going to, this is a good segue into what I'm doing here now.
Okay.
So what Jesse Hutchins and we talk about this all the time. He says like, and he actually did this too, and it's a good way to actually test yourself as a filmmaker. Try to work in every genre, make something in every genre, and that's the only way you're going to get good at it.
I'd say at least at first. Like eventually you might find your thing,
right?
But
so
yeah,
we did a fantasy. I did a mystery horror thriller with The World After, which is a zombie thing that I didn't want to make a zombie film because the Walking Dead and all that, it's been done so much, but I wanted to pay tribute to George A. Romero, Pittsburgh guy, Walking Dead. So I did that. We got the world premiere happening March 13th at the Voices Showcase. It's going to be at the Lindsay Theater in Swickley. There's going to be 10 trailers, 6 short films, all locally shot and produced right here in Pittsburgh. And any filmmaker out there who wants to come and attend this, it's free, and you will get, I guarantee you will get to network with a lot of local independent filmmakers here.
Sounds like a pretty sweet deal.
Yeah.
What date was that again?
March 13th.
All right, fantastic. If there's a link for that, it'll be in the description, people. And if not, there'll just be a reminder that March 13th is
mark your
when
calendars.
and where that's going to be.
Yep.
So,
And you also get to see a trailer for A Quiet Town, which Red Slate Films is making, and they're actually doing a premiere March 22nd up in Brockway.
one of the things I like about those kind of screenings with a lot of local content is you really never, I mean, you do, but like just showing up to see what's there, you never know what you're going to get, just from the wide range of, like, you could get genre whiplash, like, what's going on.
I love that description.
Yeah,
Genre
I
whiplash.
just came up with it. So it's, but yeah, if you have, you'll go from like, horror, exploitation, romance, drama thing to a buddy comedy, whatever.
Yeah, it's like the 48, basically.
Yeah, but which is another great thing I love about the 48 is you're like, I don't know if I can invite people to this or not, and that's part of what's exciting, Just like, like if there's something like, every once in a while, there'll be a film that you're like, are you allowed to say that? Or something, which of course you are. But so it's a fun. So much of our content is curated through algorithms, or we're literally searching for. So it's kind of fun when you go to a screening and you're like, I have no idea what's going to happen, and also I'm with the people who did it, and it's live, so it's pretty cool to it's a subculture, the independent filmmaking, and one of the things I really like about Pittsburgh is that it's growing. Yeah, it seems like every year the 48 gets bigger, more popular.
Yeah, more people, more teams, and I always see ads on Facebook like, I'm looking for actors and actresses for my 48. I'm like, okay.
I think that's the main pulsing heart of independent filmmaking in Pittsburgh, because it also begets so many other projects, because it's all volunteer based, and people end up meeting and seeing each other's work. It's a great way that any number of times I've been working on something, or someone will be like, oh, I was doing something with this guy or whatever. I'll be like, oh, who's that? And they're like, oh, they did this film for the 48. So it's just a really great way that everyone has a context for each other. So love the 48-hour film project.
People can they can work together. It's good team building. You meet people who you want to work with and establish that first team, that first film family. And then, you just go from there. And there's that, WQED does that networking event too, which I'm going to go on the 26th. I think it's the 26th. But I like going to those too, just to, talk to people and see what they're doing, and just being involved in the community of film. Just, any filmmaker out there in any city, just get involved in your local city's film community.
Especially if there's a 48. It's a great way to meet everybody. So, now... some of this stuff, I don't think we've strayed too far from the topic of, psychology or mindset for filmmaking and all that, because, networking or, developing relationships with people is a really big part of it. It's not like some other art forms or crafts that can be performed as a solo. Right. It's like you can be a musical artist. Like maybe... you'll have more potential if you're in a band, but you can just do your thing. You can also do that with painting, or illustration. You can make a comic book by yourself. It takes forever, but you can do it. It's like there's, or even not comic books, but just comic strips, like newspapers, all that kind of thing. A lot of those are solo acts.
I will say that, not to cut you off.
No, go for it.
From filmmakers and music artists, I always say this to people: nobody gets to be a rock star or a filmmaker on their own, because there are so many people behind the scenes. That music artist, you got your booking agent, you got people behind the scenes who are like booking your events. You have your other band members, and it's all a team. Building. You're all in a team. It takes more than one. Yeah,
that's where it also...
You know how you delegate. You don't know how to delegate things too.
And that's also where it comes with being a business as well. Because if you want to play your guitar and go to bars, you can make a living that way. But if you're looking to be a rock star, right, then yeah, you do need all those people. And sometimes they're not even the same person. Sometimes a venue has their own tech crew or whatever. But, you know, like you said, though, with managers and everything. But I think that's one reason why filmmaking has grown the way it has from being a business originally. And I don't even know if I'd call it a business originally, but before it was storytelling and art. You know, it was, there's been that aspect of it. And I made a short film by myself where I did everything, you know, just as an experiment, you know, not because I wanted to, I kind of didn't want to. But, you know, it's just like, let me see what happens. Like, I was the only character in it. I did all the costumes, edited, like the whole thing. I don't really recommend anybody do that. Didn't really learn anything that you didn't already know. You know, it's like, oh yeah, this is why you work with people. Like I wanted to anyway, but yeah, it really is better and true. And you know, there are those collaborators you work with at different levels or in different departments. You're also collaborating with the weather.
Yeah, fighting the weather all the time.
Yeah.
But I will say, you know, and again, going back to screenwriting, another thing you can do with, you know, and this is a process, but my mentor, Annie Eastman, when he showed me, you know, how to do the process he was teaching me, we always talked about having a writer's room and just like reaching out to different writers and just bringing them in, just, you know, and just sitting at a table and just talking about ideas. And that table would be a round table. King Arthur.
Yeah.
You know? But that never happened. And it's like, I feel like in this city especially, everybody has their own company. They like to do their own thing. I get that. But when you're trying to get to that next level, you got to drop the ego at the door. You know, you just got to like be focused in what you're good at. And, you know, say if I'm working on a set, I know things that I'm good at and I won't step in any other department's shoes because I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'll admit it. You have to be willing to say, I don't know how to do something. I don't know how to do this. Don't be afraid to say it, but don't do it and, you know, screw everything up and look like a moron because no one will want to work with you.
Yeah, I mean, because, like, there's times I've done the 48 and we had, like, I don't know, like 10 people in the writing room, you know?
They say too many cooks in the kitchen. That is such a thing. And I always, when I send a script out to an actor, like I'm thinking about casting them, I always tell them, I want you to read this. I want you to, does it speak to you? Is it something that you're into? Because if you're not into it, you're not going to offend me. I got other people I can reach out to. Just be honest. You know, I just want your feedback. I think you'd be great for this role. What do you think? And, you know, you can go from there.
Yeah. So we've talked a bit about, you know, confidence, sort of in line a little bit with presenting yourself, promoting online, you know, networking, developing relationships.
I got one more thing I will say.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, what are some more
another thing that filmmakers can do when they graduate film school, don't wait for this. If you're going to seriously get your own company, get that LLC. Don't wait to do that because I waited. I mean, it's taken me 10 years to this point in my career to actually establish all those connections and get that LLC, which I am doing officially tonight. So my company is going to be called Category 7 Stories, LLC. And it's going to be a screenwriting and producing consultation company focusing on those two areas. So if anyone out there would want writing tips, tricks, you know, producing, you know, things, I'm there. So that's going to get your LLC.
Fantastic. And once again, if you want to reach out to Wes, we'll have some connections for you in the description of this video. And we hope you take advantage of those things. So yeah, forming an LLC. Also, here's my piggyback tip on that. Make sure you know what you want it to be called. And because changing the name of your LLC is a pain in the ass. So,
yeah, think long and hard about it. Make sure
be real sure it's like, because my LLC used to be it was just my name because I was like, I don't really know what to call this right now. And it's just like, it's for taxes and stuff. You know? But then eventually I was like, okay, it's time for me to actually like rebrand this thing. And I went through the process. I'm like, this sucks. And like and then also, I believe for the first time ever, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, in all its infinite wisdom, has decided that starting in 2025, deadline being September, LLCs have to do some register thing that's like $7, which I'm sure is going to make a huge difference, to just like let them know you exist again, I guess, because registering, it wasn't enough, but whatever. So, I mean, if you have an LLC, make sure you learn about, what your state or commonwealth requires of you.
And also, with going along with the LLC, one last really important thing for filmmakers: if you're going to make a project, make sure you put it on IMDb. Get that title locked on IMDb. Establish yourself on IMDb, because I will tell you this: I did a film up in Phillipsburg. It was a Kevin Spacey film called Deadlock. This was back in October, and just a lot of things happened, during that time for me. But I worked about 3 days on that set, and I can tell you that that producer on that set was like, gung-ho, always on the move, and his most important thing was, gotta have the coffee. The coffee's gotta be this. You gotta eat big Folgers like you wouldn't believe. So, but I can tell you what he did to look at people to bring him on, because he was like really struggling with, bringing in crew, and because they were filming like a couple weeks, but they had to get this stuff done. He would look on people's IMDb. He was checking people's resumes, IMDb. So make sure your resumes and your IMDb are up to date, and you put your stuff on IMDb, because there are people that look at that.
Now, I want to take back one step, which is with the LLC. We were talking about forming an LLC. I have an LLC, so I kind of know the answer to this already. But for the people who don't have an LLC, who like maybe haven't even begun to think about that yet, which I imagine is at least one of you, why have an LLC? This question.
Well, taxes write-off. So yeah, main point. I mean, there's going to be a lot of expenses that you are going to have. If you buy a camera, if film festival fees, props, costuming, anything that you might buy for another company. This is like for actors. You're again, going back to it being a business. You're actually paying your actors and your actresses and your crew. It's a professional set, so you got to make sure all that is logged. And yeah.
Yeah, it's business stuff.
It's a business. Yeah.
And it's a limited liability company, and God forbid you end up in some kind of lawsuit. It's better than personally being liable for certain things. Yada yada. I'm not a lawyer. I can't give real legal advice, but hey, check it out. Do it, and make sure you know what you want it to be called before you pull the trigger on that.
Yep.
And also, if you don't know how to do it, the internet's a wonderful place, and there's all kinds of services online that can follow your paperwork for you.
The guy you had on here last week, Nick, he just got his LLC. Red Slate Films just got their LLC. So it's a step. It takes a while to really, make sure that you want to do it. Make sure this is the company name. This is what it's going to be, and then you just do it. You just pull the trigger.
If I could offer one other piece of advice for y'all out there thinking about forming LLCs, when it comes to the name, you can name it whatever you want, pretty much, as long as it hasn't been taken. There's a whole process for that. But what I did is before I picked the name of my LLC, I imagined a lot of the different films that I think I want to make, and then actually some that have already been made that I didn't, and I thought, if this name and logo came up before this film, would it like negatively affect the viewing experience of the audience? Because if your name is like, Dolphins Wearing Sombreros Productions, you're probably going to be making comedies. But if at some point, you change or get an opportunity and you want to make a film that's about the Bataan Death March or something like that, then, maybe you're going to have a hard time getting into the room with, the survivors and all that.
Dante's Productions, like Dante Inferno, something deep.
Yeah. It's like, but, just be mindful, but
Odyssey Productions.
Odyssey Productions, that'd be good. That's not a bad name, yeah.
There you go.
So, well, fantastic. Well, we've talked a bit about the psychology of stuff, but I'd like to get into a project that you have coming up.
Yes.
You've brought something with us
I have.
today.
Yeah.
And why don't you dive into this topic for
All
us
right.
here?
Well, this is actually really a great story. How I got this book. So I am working on a drama called Only Mortals Can Be Heroes. It is based on a true story. It is about an attorney's son. David Weaver's the author. His son's addiction to heroin. Now, that alone has brought up, stuff in my past. My cousin, unfortunately, passed away from heroin overdose.
Sad to hear.
Yeah. At that time, I was a little younger. My cousin, Damien, who basically did all my tattoos, and he's actually a tattoo artist, House of Black, booked out for the entire year. He's having a tattoo convention March 21st, locked up down in West Virginia. So check it out. I had to throw that in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he was actually, taking care of my cousin Marley at the time, and it was, I didn't really know how it was, it affected her and what she was going through. But then I read this book, and I kind of understood it more, and I watched. And there's been many films on drug addiction, and great examples, great films. But the reason I stayed away from this for so long is because, you think about when people go to the movies, they don't want to see real shit like that. It's hard hitting. That's the last thing I want to. When I go to a movie theater, I don't want to see, something that's depressing. To a point. That's why this is such great material for film festival, though, because Oscar qualifying film festivals look for dramatic stuff like this. So I feel like this has a lot of potential in that area.
Which, by the way, not to cut you off, but Oscar qualifying film festivals are a literal category of film festivals on platforms like filmfreeway.com, and they're very clearly labeled. So if you are submitting your films and you've been on Film Freeway, you know what we're talking about because you'll see the little Oscar man icon there. And it's like Oscar qualifying isn't just a like, oh, my film's going to make it to the Oscars, but there is a level of I don't know if prestige or legitimacy that comes with them would be the correct word. Actually, those are probably the right terms for them. But it's nice. They're a good thing to target because the reality is there are a lot of film festivals.
Oh, there's a ton.
They're just scams.
Before I go more into this, before I go more into this drama, that I will say about film festivals. And David Rodowski would agree with me. Yeah, like you said, there are a plethora of film festivals, almost too many. And if you go on Instagram, you'll actually have other people reach out to you. Oh, join my film festival. And then you look at it up. It's like it's first year. Like I'm not going to submit something to a first year festival that's online. Film festivals, you go to film festivals in person. That's one of David's roles. I love that role. I like to go to a film festival in person. So that's that. And then the Oscar qualifying ones, like any festival that's been around for like more than 10 years, you want to get involved with. Those are the higher tier ones. You got Richmond, you have Austin Film Fest, Da Vinci out in LA, which I've been trying to get into forever. I would love to go to Da Vinci. Synergy is on its way up. Reading Film Fest is actually in its 11th year. And for filmmakers out there, if you're going to put a film in a film festival, submit to Reading. They're the only film festival that I've been to that actually puts you up into a hotel for 2 free nights. And actually gives you really good quality food. They make you feel welcome, like family. Them and New Jersey Web Fest. Those 2 festivals are great.
That's cool as hell.
I've made so many connections through those festivals. So you don't have to go all the way out to LA and feel like you have to go down, to Atlanta to make a really good connection at a festival. It's 6 hours, drive. So when you get to that point. But back more to the drama. Mm-hmm. So, like my cousin went through that, and then the guy who presented me this book, his name was Daryl Audia, Sr. He's up at Newcastle. And little tidbit about Newcastle, I'm okay sharing this because this is information that people should know, especially filmmakers. Newcastle, PA, is actually the place where Warner Brothers started.
What?
knowledge drop.
It's like
I should just mic drop that.
I know a little bit about Newcastle. I have friends who live there. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a theater.
Explain yourself.
Yes, there's a theater there. I forget the name of it. I think it's the Warner Theater, I think. But there's my mentor and I went there the one time because we went up there to do some campaign videos for Daryl, and he showed us this theater. It has like all the old cameras, and it has 2 screening rooms, and it's almost like a museum theater in a way, but it showed like what it went through and what the area went through, and Warner Brothers was actually there. And they at some point they just moved away from it.
Like the literal brothers?
Yeah, so if you wanted to do a documentary on that, I'd be on board for that.
Oh, cool. Documentary is not really my medium lately.
Neither one, but if you wanted to.
But I know a few people, so maybe I'll bring that up to them,
And they actually shot I Am Number 4 up there.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So
cool.
But anyways, this guy, Daryl, he reached out to me randomly on like Messenger one day. I was driving. I'm like, who's this guy? I don't know who. I thank God I picked up the phone because it's the best phone call I've had and the best connection I've made. The dude's like the sweetest guy you'll ever talk to. Before you know it, I went up there, saw his place, saw the Newcastle area. He was running for office at the time. He didn't win, unfortunately, but we maintained that connection. And he gave me this book, and I read it. And, it hit me. It hit me really hard. And I told him, I said, yeah, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, like, get to this for a while just because of, what happened. And, it's a great read. Again, I mean, it's a short, you see how, you can read this in a day, basically. It's a quick read. But so my next pursuit, I loved it so much. I'm actually getting in touch with the author today about it for the first time. He's excited to see what I have. I'm going to present him the script, which I actually also brought. Hot off the presses.
Wonderful.
And I'm actually going to give you one.
Oh, I love this.
Signed and everything.
Ha
So you can read it. I'd like to know your thoughts.
Look at that. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
I really like thoughtful gifts like this.
Yeah.
This is so cool. Like some people are a little, I don't know, squeamish about their art and stuff. I'm like, no, if you record a song, I'd love having a copy of it.
Well, hey, if this ends up getting picked up, I have this whole plan that I've formulated. If this ends up going higher places,
might be able to sell this.
You got the actual short version of it.
Nice.
So yeah.
Excellent.
So anyway, he gave me the book, and now I'm going through it. This script we're actually filming June 15th to the 21st.
Great, congrats.
We have all the I have 2 locations secured. I have all the cast. I have the crew. And then kind of like there's different ways. Everyone has a different path in this industry. And, people will tell you, oh, yeah, I can go to festivals. I can try to sell this as a package. From a writer's perspective, selling your idea as a package deal to a studio is the best way to go about it, which means you have the script, you have auditions, you have in this case, you have a book to present, you have, the actual film, which is at that point, you have a product to sell. And I have a little bit of a background in selling. I worked at GNC for 10 years. But having that mindset of having that physical product in your hand to show somebody and sell it to a bigger studio, you never know. They could pick it up. And at that point, they'll be like, okay, well, yeah, we'd like to throw some money at this. We want to invest in it. You have the feature version. Then you show them the feature. You give them your name, talent, cast list. And before you know it, you have a budget. And then you're going with a feature film. And then you're locking in theatrical release. You're thinking about theatrical.
Now, this book spoke to you, obviously, and you talked about that on a personal note with your cousin. Once again, I'm sad to hear about that. Yeah. One thing that a lot of studios talk about, and I feel like independent filmmakers could bear to talk about more or think about, even if they don't mention it, is target audience. Who is this going to speak to?
A lot of kids in high school, I hope. A lot of kids going through school, struggling with, all the pressure that, school presents. And I know I couldn't even imagine going to school today. I mean, I don't even know how I got through it, to be honest with you. I would have definitely did differently, especially high school. But, same with Brave the Dark. Like, I told everyone that I saw in that theater, like, this is the type of material that they need to be watching in schools. Because they're powerful messages. It's powerful stuff. They need to. So that was my inspiration. Inspirational coming of age dramas. You know,
All right,
I love that.
Definitely speaking to students. Very good.
And
young
parents
people.
too. Parents.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of those cycles with some target audiences. It's like there's some things that, maybe work good for a younger age group, but then also, depending on what the story is and how it's presented, can have a nostalgic feel for it. Like when I watched, what's it called? The famous movie with, hang on. Stand By Me. Duh. Yeah, coming of age story, Stand By Me. I didn't watch that when I was a kid, but I watched it for the first time in the last few years, and it took me a while, but I got there. And, it was even from a time period that I wasn't around for, but, it just, because of how authentic that movie is for, being that age and just, there's a lot going on in it, and I had... it was easy for me to connect with those characters as well for kind of a similar way that I imagine, older, even though this will probably be maybe more helpful or relevant to a younger audience. Perhaps, like you said, parents would be able to get something.
Yeah, and there's really not a whole lot of inspirational coming of age stories nowadays, especially films like Stand By Me. You don't see that very often. But I will say, when I wrote this script, I literally cried. I wrote this in the gym, in the sauna. There I was writing this cemetery scene. I literally cried. I told people and I'm not ashamed to admit that, because I actually, one of my DPs I worked with over the weekend, he read it. He was literally sitting right next to me. He had tears.
Nice.
So I like to think I got something good going. I don't know, maybe.
Well, it's good when someone else, because it's easy to get in your own head as a creative in a positive or negative way, but when other people are responding to it, that's a great sign. And also, it's great when it works on the page, because I think some people. Everyone learns this, I think, but especially when people are starting out, it's really easy to kid yourself into thinking it's going to work by the time it's done. But the reality is, if something's funny, it probably needs to be funny while you're reading it. There's exceptions to that. There's different types of comedy, and all that.
Sure.
But there's some things that's trust me, it'll work.
Right. And then, again, I tell people just trust the process. I send them examples of scenes from previous films. This is what I'm going for. This is the dynamic I want you to see. And then, just like I said, being passionate about it, getting people excited for it.
But there is such thing as it needs to work on the page.
Right.
And
table reads.
Yeah.
Right. Have a table read.
Great.
Audition videos actually help too when you listen to your actor actually speaking the dialogue. It's because I actually got one from one of my actors, and I actually ended up going back, changing, tightening up some of the dialogue that just didn't really sound right, But granted, he's not really reading for that part, but, at the same time, you can hear it and be like, okay, this doesn't really sound right. Having someone else speak it actually really helps.
Any way that you can cross-examine or just look at your script a different way, have someone else read it, tell them, and whatever it is.
Right.
Just look at it as much as possible. My philosophy with writing is you got to get the script white hot and beat the tar out of it till it's done.
And to that point, for screenwriters, it takes a long time to find a great script idea and to come up with material you believe in. You can write off the blue and just come up with something on the fly, but when you're searching for that material that really speaks to you, I'm not gonna kid any of you guys. I feel it's you just don't it doesn't happen overnight. It's you have to do your research. Pay attention to news articles, what's being made, what's not being made, because film is all about timing. And once you do a genre, you look at what's being made, what's being done. That's why I did Children as Giants back in 2020, because everyone was doing horror. Everyone was so damn depressed. I'm not going to make more drama. I did something lighthearted, something like Rain Man and Never Was. And now it's streaming. You can find Children as Giants on Amazon, Walmart. It's doing well. It's an original fantasy. David Ogrodowski's in it. He's a sweet guy. He looks like Sean Connery. So I gave him that type of role, so check it out,
Yeah, and one of the other things is that not every story necessarily needs to be put into a film format, you know, like and made into a movie. And sometimes it doesn't need to be made into a movie by you. Like maybe it speaks to someone else who's a filmmaker, and there's some people who are better for different projects or whatever. There's some ideas I come up with that I like. But I think, you know, this would be better as a comic book. You know, it doesn't have to be a movie.
Oh, right.
It could be
forms,
something else.
Podcast,
but every once in a while, you get a story that needs to be made into a lot of different mediums. Case in point, you read this book, it affected you, and now I've got a script on my knee. So I hope it goes very well for you.
Yes,
I hope you break many legs while filming this June. You're shooting. Excellent.
Yep.
And people, don't forget, we've got a screening coming up in March. Links and info and all that stuff in the description. Wes, thanks for being my guest. Is there anything else you'd like to leave people with today?
Well, I will leave you guys with this saying that they say in all web series festivals, and that's how I actually got into the festival circuit with David Ogrodowski, was the web series. But they always said, Michael and Jackaway in LA Webfest, and Neem Basha says this all the time, don't wait, create.
Don't wait, create. Wonderful, catchy words. Thank you very much. It's been wonderful talking with you. I hope everything goes well.
Yep, thank you.
Don't go away, people. I've got an outro. You know how it goes.
I certainly hope you enjoyed that conversation here on the StudioMEcast. And don't forget that if you like the look and sound of it, you can rent these spaces yourself for your own podcasting needs. Don't forget, they are powered by AI and will edit while you are recording, which saves all kind of time on the back end for post-production. So, if that interests you, please check out our website at StudioME.me. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. And I hope that you'll join us for another episode later on the StudioMEcast. Bye-bye.